Happy Friday, Pat.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Good. Welcome to our millions and millions of viewers.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
it is Friday. It's that witching hour, that time in which we blow up the internet. And so we do it well. But now everybody's waiting for this giant moment. Now, I could hedge and say when I go to Mortgage News Daily, we're not at we're not below 6%. But
Mm,
you do have rates in the high fives now, right?
Yep, 599.
599. Well, only because, as you know, I was a Powerball winner yesterday.
Yeah, I know.
$4. So I'm going to pass you your dollar, and then we're going to have to figure out another event, another bet to have. So here you go.
Oh, hey, thank you, thank you,
Yeah.
thank
How
you.
did how did that turn into a 10?
It's- it turned. I took $1 and turned it into a 10.
God,
The
you've
magic of
got a
making
better
money.
system than I have. So
I love this new Venmo system we have.
yeah, it's great. It works great. So
Oh, yeah,
so
thank you.
so so rates. Sean says, "What did rates decrease below 6?" Yes. In fact,
Yeah,
you've got
there's
where are we?
there's some out there that yeah, it just depends on the scenario. So they're
We're right
kind
on
of
the edge,
high fives, low
Sean.
six.
I mean, if I wanted to hire a lawyer, I'd get my dollar back. But
Yeah.
we're right. We're Pat can see rates like 5.75, 5.99, where day before yesterday they were almost there. So we're seeing progress. So far, Barry Habib has been correct, and Pat has, and it has reminded me to stay in my wheelhouse. I am not a
You can,
bond trader, nor will I be.
I don't know if it's my wheelhouse either. I just try to follow Barry. Barry. So they
The rates must
yes.
be at 599 below. Yes, that's yeah, we made that happen, Stephanie. We made a couple calls, hey, this above 6 is getting a little obnoxious. See what you can do. And
Yeah.
so, but we're there. But you know what? We're seeing some stuff going on in the market that is opposite of kind of what, well, at least what I was suspecting for February, January. It's not February yet, but we still only have 16,481 listings. Last week we had 16,500, but new listings are 3,450 over the 7-day moving average. And I'm going to pull up my little green chart here and go up to the top, show this to you for a second. But what's happening is sales are increasing. I thought we'd be about 2,200 again, kind of along that trend line that we were running.
Mm-hmm.
You can see here that we've actually jumped above it. So we've got 2,658 contracts. And that's quite a change in context because remember, we were sitting here at about 2,200 to 2,300. All of a sudden, now we're 26. So the gap, the new listings are trying to come on, but there's only a less than an 800 home gap here between new listings and homes going under contract. When it gets to where it's like 1,500 to 2,000, that's when we started seeing all that pricing pressure. So
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely, the winds are changing out there, and it's showing up in the Cromford indexes as well. Notice all those green. I mean, look
Mm-hmm.
at Chandler; it's now 132, and the reason is there's no supply, and because sales are picking up, those numbers are turning green. Yeah, well, see, now trending topics, just realized this illustrates just how bad inflation is. I moved that dollar just a couple of feet, and it goes up to $10. And please hold, everybody. We have to start over because Jackie's here. Um,
Yeah.
um, so anyway, Chandler's at 132. Everybody except for Buckeye even went up 11%. They're sitting down here at 53. But if you were to look at these numbers now, Pat, you could attempt to say, and we're not going to know for a couple months, that maybe we hit the bottom. and that things are slowly starting to turn. But it's going to take 2 to 3 months to be able to definitively say that. So you can see here the market, the Cromford Index is going up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Demand is going up, and not a lot. We were at about 1,700 through the holidays. Now we're 2,600. But this is what's driving it: is supply is going down, and as long as you got one metric going up, one going down, you're going to end up with a difference in that Cromford Index and the inventory. And this is showing kind of where it's at the last 30 days. It's kind of muddling along. It's not going up or down. And Pat's asking if that's a ruggedly handsome guy. That was only yesterday, Jackie.
Yeah.
He's So for people that missed that, you got to go back and watch our show yesterday. We had fun with the artificial intelligence bot, and Tyler, yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Is it a sucker's rally?
I know.
I don't know. I don't know that. We're just going to have to watch and see what happens, because you see here the active listings. They took a dip, for the holidays, and boom, boom, boom. They just haven't recovered yet. They're trying, but as they try, we're getting more purchases.
Yeah.
And under contract, you can see is going up, and we're seeing an expired listings had their spike, but that's going to be back down to here when they recap that next week. So
Yeah.
expired listings just they kind of like had their moment. Canceled listings are going down, going through these pretty quick. List price per square foot staying flat. Average sold percent list price sitting here at 96.5. And so it's kind of interesting. Closed listings, sales per year down, sales per month down, but creeping up just a hair. That's not a big number. Days on market is climbing. And finally, success rate is kind of sitting here at about 61, had a peak of 67 here in December. So nothing earth shattering there's. Will there
Can
be
I
a flood
interrupt
of
some? Oh,
refis? I don't
is
think
it?
so. Do you
There'll
think,
be
Pat, there's going to be a flood of refis?
no. I mean, there's a lot. There's been a lot of people looking for HELOCs, home equity lines of credit. But in terms of refis, you got people at 2.5 or 3%. They're not going to move anywhere. They're not going to move that. They're going to get a HELOC. But also, if the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac is just, they're actually tightened up just recently this week. They're going to come out with a new rule saying that you can't do a cash out. You have to wait 12 months to do a cash out versus 6 months.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah, they're flipping that here. So I don't know when that. Hey, can I interrupt you? I mean, I got
Yeah.
somebody. Hold on one second. Well, I got somebody knocking on my door, and I don't know what. Can you hold on one
Okay.
second?
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
I'll add something to the stream here, and you go out to the front door and
I'll be out in 2 seconds. Yep.
yeah, get that pizza. Um, so while Pat's getting his pizza, I'm going to show just a couple more things. When we look at the Cromford Market Index here on the daily chart, and I wonder if he can share a pizza like we did the dollar. He'd hand me a full slice though, and it'd be like a quarter of a slice for me. The Cromford Index, it's clearly going up, and I look at that, and I looked at it climbing in December, and I kind of said, well, we're going to have to watch this. I'm not sure what this is going to mean, and whether or not this is going to stick around, because inventory dropped so much. With inventory coming up, I didn't think sales would follow it. Now, with us getting a little bit of relief in rates, sales probably going to continue to follow it. And many buyers in the same camp of people that bought a Tesla in December. Um, Live YouTube, you got to hit that like button. Thanks, Jackie. Yeah, now somebody's going to come to my door, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Sorry, it
think
was just there
the people
knocking
that bought,
incessantly.
and I repeated this a lot, Pat. The people that bought in 2022 at the peak still have the lowest payment in the neighborhood. I mean, so they may be losing some equity. They've lost some equity. It's kind of
Yep.
starting to. It went down and then it stayed, and people that listed trying to get out in around September had a listing agreement that went from like September to the end of December, and they just said, let's just let it expire. To heck with it.
Yeah.
We tried. We call that wish pricing. And
Yeah, you go
so,
back to go back to Tyler's thing before I don't know if I answered but yeah, there's a lot of people with the home equity line of credits, but like I said, the cash out, it's that's slowed down. I mean, people are still inquiring about HELOCs, but that's about it in terms of refis.
So tell me
Yeah,
what's going on with rates now. I mean, it looks like we've kind of hit this area and we're just going to stay there for a few weeks. I
yeah. It
didn't see
just
much movement today. It's in a narrow channel, right?
yeah. It's a very. I mean, this is the kind of this is November 10th. This is when we. This is these are rates actually. I did so everybody can see. We saw rates drop. You know, really, we saw the peak November 7th, right around there, and then they had that nice drop. And ever since then, they've been kind of in this channel between like the 10 years at 392. There's a hard floor here at 343, right here, 3.43 on the 10 year. So this is the channel they've been kind of stuck in. I mean, Barry, and he even says their bonds are just stuck. We've had a nice run where they've come down here. He goes, we might see a little bit of a pullback. Rates creep up a little bit, but right now we're in the mode of waiting for the PPE on I think it's the 27th. So next week you get the PPI number. That's the producer price index. So that's coming out next Wednesday. So that might be a little bit of a starter either way. And then you got Friday. We got existing home sales to see what the market's been doing, but it just seems like we're stuck in this channel. You're stuck in terms of the supply and demand side and the rates. It's just we're kind of muddling along here the last month and a half.
Yeah, but inside that data as well, though, Pat, um, this isn't a bad month to list
No.
because from the simple fact that um, the buyers are increasing, not, they're not all getting in their car, but we've gone from 1,700 contracts on a 7-day moving average to 2,658. That's a pretty good clip.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but our inventory is not increasing. It's trying to,
Yeah.
but the people that are pricing them right are gobbling up. The investor purchases are way down. I still get hit multiple times a week with investors looking for ugly ducklings, so they can buy. And I just don't have anything for them. But if you do have a home that's in, you know, that needs some improving, you think it's going to be hard to sell on the market because it's hard to sell a house that needs even a lot of cosmetic stuff right now. Although I have been surprised. There was one in Chandler that we looked at with one of our subscribers here, and that was one where we went and took a look at it. I did a little short video on that. I called it the Purple House. They painted like part way up on the trim
Mm-hmm.
and stopped, but the house was in total disrepair, and they were asking
Ooh.
$495 for it. I think $499, and we sent them in a really low offer. And she goes, "Why so low?" And I go, "Well, it needs everything." She goes, "Well, not $80,000 worth of work." And I said, "Well, um, that's true, but that's assuming that the value stays at 495." She's, "Well, we just lowered it to 490." Oh, okay. So
Mm.
I looked it up. It closed day before yesterday, and get this, it closed. They wrote them 5,000 above list price, but then they got 2% back in seller concessions. I was shocked that they got that price. This house needed everything. The railings going upstairs, all the finish was worn off on it. The tile, the grout was just black. The kitchen cabinets were falling apart. The backyard had this huge tree that was already pushing on the block wall, getting ready to make it collapse on their neighbors. The entire house needed to be repainted, and that the roof needed new paper underlayment. And I just personally felt like that it wasn't worth a dime over 4.25. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have touched it. Well, somebody swooped in and took it, and I don't imagine it's somebody that's going to flip it because they paid too much to make it flip. But there are surprises on both ends of the transaction there. So I didn't think that home would move at all. Now we're waiting for one in Maricopa that Open Door grabbed. They took off the market to temporarily take off the market. My understanding is they're switching out some windows and they're doing some painting. So we're waiting to see what the end of that party is going to bring. But if you're thinking of listing now and you do it correctly, in other words, make sure your photos are right and make sure it's clean, because I'm walking in so many filthy houses. Make sure it sparkles, that you have a minimal amount of furniture. Take the family photos off the wall, make it look like a show home. You'll move it. And I think you'll be happy with your price. You're not going to
Mm-hmm.
get top 2022 price, but you're going to get your 2021 price. At least today, that's what's happening now.
Yeah. Right. So are you seeing? I mean, so you're saying prices are have been stabilized for the
Their
most part?
prices, listing prices are staying here, but closing cost contributions are going up. I'll see if I can find that here. Seller paid closing costs. So we can see here that people are hanging on their list price, but they're giving you more on the back end.
Yeah,
So we're
that's
at
what we're seeing.
49%, an average of 9,400. So that's about 2%. So we're seeing more and more of that. But I'm not seeing, and the people that tried to list, I think they're just waiting out the market. They let it expire. Now, a few of them are going to come back on because, real estate agents are going to call them, get them to say it was their realtor's fault. The house didn't sell. And they go, well, let me
Mm-hmm.
try it. They'll put it back on. But they're waiting. And if they start seeing a market improvement, then we'll get another wave of homes come on if things look better. But rates are going to have to improve greatly, I think, for any real entry into the market. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think it's just elastic with rates. I mean, I got a house in my neighborhood that I think it's been listed for, um, oh God, 70, 80 days. They're right at 599. They haven't budged. The sellers will not. I just been watching it. They just will not budge in any type of. And I see the real estate agent every weekend doing an open house, and obviously the seller's not budging at all in terms of
Yeah, if
you
you're
know.
sitting at a price and you're 90 days out, um, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, the price you're going to get is the price you're going to get. It all depends on how long you wait to get there. In other
yeah,
words, if you're stuck on 599, it doesn't mean that, 599, 90 days, 120 days, somebody will suddenly realize that the house is worth 599. They just haven't seen it yet. That never happens.
yeah,
It
yeah.
just, the more it's on the market, the less that 599 is attractive to anybody. At this
I
point, they're going to have to go down at least 20K. But in this
you know I. T-
market, Pat, if they're 599 and people aren't used to that, unlike last year, buyers are not afraid to write them low ball offers. So I bet
yeah.
he's been getting offers.
Oh yeah, yeah. They have been. You know, interesting. I was talking to a real estate, a mortgage, actually, real estate broker. You know, he's broker, the managing broker for Realty One, and he said exactly what you said. He goes, people can list their house for 475, but they're not going to get 475. They're going to probably get. He said any price you list at. He said the same thing you did. You know, a couple weeks ago. He goes, they can list at 475, but they're probably going to get offered 455 or 460. He goes, don't expect your list price.
And it doesn't matter. Your list price can be fabulous.
Yeah,
It can be the bet. You can look at that and go, I looked at all these comps. It comped at this. It comped at that. I'm going to price way below the comps. They're going to come in and offer you, 10, 20,000 less.
yep, yep. Yeah, it's just
After the
we're
past 2 years where buyers have been, struggling to get in offers, they're in no mood to pay list prices.
it's
Can you
amazing
sell
how
whatever they want? Has to appraise if you're using financing. Yeah, they
yep.
can sell. I haven't seen any appraisal issues yet, though, which is,
No.
and that's funny because when the market's coming down, we usually have better success with appraisals, right?
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah. I mean,
versus when the market's going up.
when the market's going up, correct. I mean, it's just you get the lag time on effect with appraised values, obviously, because they go back a certain, a couple months to the sales. But I'm surprised that I haven't seen any issues yet on that end at all. Which is kind of surprising because I thought I would. Maybe in the next 2 or 3 months we will start to see a few, price adjustments on the appraisals. But I always tell people, let the appraisal dictate where you go with the negotiation. As if it came off 10,000 less. Then you got something to go back to the seller with. Say, hey, came in $10,000 less than the offer price. We got to talk. You know.
Yeah, it's easier to have that conversation if the appraisal comes in on that. But I caution buyers, please don't use the inspection as a pinch point for pricing.
Yeah.
You've already walked in the backyard. You already know the year of the air conditioning. So don't wait till you get the appraisal report that says The air conditioning is nearing its end of life. You already saw it when you wrote the offer. So
Yeah.
now you can't say, well, I want a new AC. Well, when, I like to point out to sellers, this thing's old. So you're going to get a report that says this is nearing the end of life. Now, let's walk around and see if we can see any other defects. Looks like it needs paint. Let's take that into consideration. The carpet shot. Let's do that. Now, when you get the inspection back and it's got all of the things that you already saw and took into consideration with your offer, don't play round two and try to lower the price again.
Yeah.
And I had a client that did that, and and I pushed back, and I had one a few years ago. This guy says, when we get the inspection report back, Rick, I'm not going to ask for anything. I love the house. We couldn't get him financed. His address that he had was a gas station in North Phoenix. He was commingling his business funds with his personal checking account. So they couldn't make
Heads or
any
tails.
sense out of how much money he was getting from the gas stations that he owned and the stores. And then when the inspection report came back, he wanted them to give us a $20,000 credit. And at this point, his personality totally changed. He got really nasty. And he goes, "You work for me. You're going to ask for $20,000." And I said, "I'm okay with that if we can justify it. But when I look at some of these repairs, I don't care how hot I get with my calculator. I can't come up with 20K. I can come up with 7. I
Mm-hmm.
can't come up with 20. So you're trying to renegotiate the price." He strung these people out to 3 days before closing, couldn't get financing and had to walk. And it was the hardest phone call I ever had to make in my career. And it was a young couple that had just moved out. And
Oh,
it was just absolutely devastating. He had the money, when they did the prequal, he had the money, he got all this cash flow. But then when it came to satisfying underwriters, because of the way that he was funneling this through his checking account,
yep.
we couldn't close it. So
That sucks.
it was not a good situation. So we've got another inflation number that's not coming out for a couple of weeks, or is that next week?
Well, the PPI is coming out next week, Wednesday. But then we got the the on the 27th we got the consumer price. Uh, this CP. Well, the number 27th. I always getting all these inflation numbers all mixed up. Wednesday's the PPI number, so that might have a little bearing on rates. But it just seems like things are overall looking at the whole picture of everything. It's just kind of we're muddling along here. Rates are kind of muddling around. High fives, low sixes. Buyers are kind of muddling. Sellers are muddling. I mean, when do we get the next move? Do we get another inflation number? Maybe say in March or April, where we get rates. That could be a big. If we see rates pushed down, what kind of demand are we going to see then?
Hopefully
You know?
not real hot. I hope it doesn't go nuts, but
Yeah.
there are some projects going on here I wanted to share with you that kind of show you what's going on in the valley. And we've got, everybody knows you got the Taiwan chip plant right up
Yep.
north. And then you have Intel down in Chandler. And I had read that Intel said they were going to be laying some people off this year. But
Mm-hmm.
now they're investing $20 billion in with two semiconductor chips plants. So they're adding like crazy there, and it's going to be operational by 2024. Electric vehicle expansion, Lucid, that's down in
Yep.
Casa Grande, and battery manufacturing plant. Nestle. Nestle announced in 2022 it'll develop a new coffee creamer manufacturing plant in the West Valley, 675 million with 350 new jobs. Then you've got an electric car company here from Canada relocating to Mesa. This one's interesting. Virgin Galactic. Mesa will be home to the final assembly manufacturing facility for Virgin Galactic's next generation spaceships. The global aerospace company announced in July it signed a long term lease near Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport. The facility will be able to produce 6 spaceships a year and bring on hundreds of engineering and manufacturing employees. The campus is expected to be operational by late 2023. So that's going to be interesting. We're building rocket ships.
Rocket ships.
Yeah. And then there's some data center growth. There's all kinds of stuff going on. All these office complexes, big entertainment center out in the West Valley is coming, Cannon Beach. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Metro Center is going to be plowed down, and they're going to start
Yep.
over there and redo that, and that's going to be retail and residence. So a lot of building going on, a lot of people coming here. Just heard from a gentleman in Seattle this morning that's planning on relocating down here next year, and he's watching the housing market carefully and just wants to get out of the rain. Actually, used to play for the Arizona Cardinals, and
Oh, cool.
so it was kind of fun talking to him. Uh, so Terry's here. Buy some laying hens and retire in luxury. Oh, speaking of that, there's an egg shortage because there's a bird flu. I saw what I thought was the most ridiculous thing. It was on the web this morning, and it was this guy in England saying there isn't a shortage of hens or eggs. The problem is the grocers are not paying them enough for their eggs and enough to cover production. And I'm thinking, that's the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard from somebody that's in the wholesale food industry. You tell the retailers how much you're charging. The free market
Yeah.
determines if you're asking too much or not enough. The grocery stores never go and go, hey, Pat, I hear you have a hard time selling your eggs. We're going to offer you more money. Bull.
No, that's
Walmart
not
has a
right.
process where you're supposed to come to them, you give them a price for your product, and then they want you to go back and figure out how you can lower the cost of manufacturing or distribution. In other words, they want to be able to offer the best value, but they want you to give them a price that's lower because you lowered the cost of production. And they hammer
Yeah.
you on it forever. Tell me what you're doing to lower your cost of production so that we can pass savings on to our customers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and they were actually kind of nasty about it, to be honest with you. But nowhere in that world does somebody say, um, you know, we're not making money because Safeway didn't come and offer to pay us more for our eggs. And it was a Twitter post, and I'm not on Twitter. I just happened to read it, but I just wanted to go, "What are you nuts?"
Yeah. That's amazing what eggs have done. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, there's still inflation out there, and that's why I think the Feds, they're saying, 25 basis points February, possibly 50. So this is going to be the next round of. It just feels like there's looking at that chart, that interest rate chart. We're kind of in this lull. It just seems like we're going to be in. My gut says that we've been in this lull for a while. Once we're in that lull, you always got something. There's always something. That storm activity. Brewing, either good or bad. I mean, it's kind of
Some,
interesting.
something could come in on inflation that shoots that all full of holes. Then, so
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but inflation. It seems like everything. What I'm seeing is we've kind of hit the peak, and it's kind of being somewhat subdued. So, like I said, Barry thinks that these are going to roll into better rates the next couple months. So,
well, I don't want to confuse rates either with the economy. The economy is not doing great in
no,
certain sectors, especially in tech. Um, and I have, but talking about rates, the one thing that's really obvious is that 499 is a rate that makes people go out and shop for houses because we're living that and seeing that with new builds right
new,
now. So
yeah. Well, that's what it has kind of put me along the lines that if rates do go down, you're going to see, like you said, you saw demand with the 499 with these new builds. People were chomping at the bit to buy. So
yeah,
if we see fours, that's what I mean. I think you're going to see another. I hope we don't see this crazy demand like we saw. Because it's unsustainable. Anything like that's unsustainable. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, prices have come down considerably. So
yeah,
is that the crash everybody's waiting for? I don't think so. We see it
no,
every day in the comments section. There's a crash coming. Just wait. I mean, they never provide any data, but there's a crash coming.
yeah,
But when I'm looking at the charts today, I'm saying they could easily just turn around and go the other way. They really could.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you kind of have to understand the trends and look at it. We can't make any wild predictions, except the only prediction that I can make now is, and it's there, and the numbers are jumping out at you, and you can see it. If you want to list a home in January, you'll probably do okay. I mean,
mm-hmm,
that's like the obvious thing right now. February, well, unless we have a big bump in rates, February is probably going to be fairly decent as well.
Yep.
March, I have no idea. And then after March and after spring training, will we see a wave of vacation rentals start to show up and hit the market? And
Yep.
so those are kind of the big ticket items that are out there. And I just can't possibly make a prediction on that. So,
I wish you could, but I mean, it seems well. At least, like you said, people aren't. If they are looking to buy, at least you're not up against. Once we repeated this a few times, but at least you're not paying 40, 50, 60,000 dollars over and not getting any seller concessions. There's been a big turnaround the last year.
yeah, it's actually much easier to show homes now. Well, Pat, have a super weekend,
Yep.
and don't spend that money all in one place. And I told you I was a Powerball winner yesterday.
Yeah.
I
Roll.
took my ticket up to one of those kiosks. You take the little QR code, and
Yeah.
it goes beep, and it does, it puts a dialogue up, and it says, "You're a winner. See the service desk." And so I'm seeing a lot of that, Stephanie. Well, now when you get that and you're holding this ticket and you're standing in line to go up the service desk, you're like, "Well, I wonder how much it is. I mean,
People in line are saying, "Why are you peeing your pants, sir?"
did I hit it big? Did I, what's going on?" And so your mind's like, this could be several hundred, it could be a several thousand, because it
Yeah.
was the Powerball, which I think was 30 million or 300 million, something like that. And I get up there and I go, evidently I'm a winner. And he goes, "Well, let's see." And he comes back and he goes, $4. And I go, "Damn, I told everybody at the office I'd split it." This will be so. Anybody actually waiting to sell after the Super Bowl, I don't know, and I don't know what that impact would be. It's kind of like waiting after
I
the
haven't heard
election.
anything. I haven't heard anybody, saying that's been. I haven't heard anybody talking about
Well, I
that.
did a survey on this channel. If you own a short-term rental, are you planning on selling next year, keeping it, or converting it to a long-term rental? 37% of people responding said they're planning on selling. So those are the people that may sell after Super Bowl, because right now you can get whatever you want for that 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You can. So I think, Richard, I think there's some of that out there. I don't know if it's a big number. I'd like to see a bunch of the short-term rentals in Sedona get put on the market, because there's such a shortage up there for entry-level homes and for rentals, and I'd like to see those go away. That offering $10,000 uh, um, to renter to landlords up there was a program that just wasn't going to work. So
Yeah.
got to see what happens. So anyway, have a
All
great
right.
weekend. We're going to cut out of here.
All right. Have a
Take
good
care.
weekend, everybody.
Thanks,
Talk
everybody.
to you. Bye bye.